part of the scramble. You see, there is so much demand, especially being driven by this transition to electric vehicles. There is so much demand for cobalt that mining companies can't get it out of the ground quickly enough. Well, if you have hundreds of thousands of grindingly poor people there digging it out of the ground, it's a penny wage way of boosting production to try and meet demand. And your listeners and viewers should understand, cobalt is toxic. It's toxic to touch. It's toxic to breathe. So I have seen thousands of women with babies strapped to their backs inhaling toxic cobalt dust day in and day out, 10-year-old children caked in toxic filth, exposing themselves to toxic cobalt. And the ore that these children are digging that has cobalt in it often has traces of radioactive uranium. So the public health catastrophe, on top of the human rights violence, on top of the environmental destruction, is unlike anything we've ever seen in the modern context. And the fact that it is linked to companies worth trillions and that our lives depend on this enormous violence has to be dealt with.
And Siddharth, you point out, I'll just read out a short quote of yours because you mentioned what these miners are paid. So you write, the most fortunate tunnel diggers in Casulo earn around $3,000 per year, the most fortunate. By way of comparison, the CEOs of the technology and car companies that buy the cobalt mined from Casulo earn $3,000 in an hour. And they do so without having to put their lives at risk each day that they go to work. So if you could explain, I mean, first of all, talk, as you said, $7 or $8 is the maximum a day that people earn. What do these children get, these 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old children and countless teenagers?
Yes, well, you see the riches that are enjoyed at the top of the chain, they're stacked to the sky on top of the narrow, beleaguered shoulders of the children of the Congo. So start with a family unit. Men and teenage boys with some strength, they might be digging tunnels in a neighborhood like Kasulo that you just mentioned, which is in Kolwezi, ground zero for cobalt mining. They dig shafts down into the ground up to 100 feet deep to try to find slightly higher grades of cobalt ore. Think of it like purity, so that instead of earning $1 or $2 or $3, maybe they'll earn 4 or 5 or 6. Well, they're crouched in darkness. They don't have room to sit up as they work for 18 hours at a time underground. And those tunnels often collapse, burying alive everyone inside. On the ground, you'll have younger children and maybe mothers digging in pits and trenches that could be a few meters deep. They will gather sacks of dirt and stone and fill them up and take them over to putrid rinsing pools where young children, little boys and girls, will use a sieve to try to separate dirt and stone from cobalt-bearing ore. They go through this process throughout an entire day to fill one sack, for which the family might get $2 or $3 or $4 from the buyers, the Chinese buyers, who then sell it to formal industrial mining companies. So at the bottom end, children could be earning 50 cents to $1 for rinsing and sieving and sorting. And at the best, on the best day, tunnel digging males and teenage boys might earn $5 or $6 or $7, but putting their lives at risk for a potentially horrid demise each and every day.
So can you talk about the responsibility of the Congolese government, of China,